Hey everyone, this is Corey with Stafford ZDC, and today I'm going to be giving you my review on the BRS Navajo. So this here is made by BRS, or Blade Runner Systems, also known as Evolve. This is a design by Dervish Knives and John Gonzalez, who I am not familiar with at all, but this is a really neat piece. You can see the Evolve logo here on the clip. There are no other markings anywhere on this, at least not visible while assembled. I'm not sure if there's any markings on the inside, as this is a pass-around knife, so I did not take this apart. I do want to give you a little bit of a size comparison since we're back here on the tabletop, and I have the ability to do so. I'm going to bring in the TRM Atom, which you can see it's very similar in overall size too, and the TRM Neutron to show you what a 3 and 3.5 inch blade look like here in comparison. So you can see it's a fairly large knife overall, not large, but a fairly big for like the medium size, I guess is a good way to put it. The total overall length is 8 inches, which is roughly the same as the Atom, and you do have a 3.5 inch blade. One of the interesting things about this though is that your handle length is 4.375 inches, and you can see how that blade to handle ratio looks. Even though this is almost a full inch longer of handle, that's a lot of blade tucked into what does not look like a lot of handle. And it might look a little less proportional on camera here, just looking through my phone and seeing how this looks. But in hand, I wear a large size glove. This just fits my hand, and there's this little bit of hang over at the bottom. You can even choke up into this little area right up here. This is just enough space for my hand. I mean, just enough. You barely see anything sticking out there. And there is so much blade. They really do not mess around. They have the cutting edge listed as 3.5 inches. You can see right where this tallest portion of the handle is, there is maybe 1/8 of an inch of blade, probably less, probably 1/16 of an inch of blade before you hit the sharpened edge. So that is awesome. They did not cut any corners with cutting edge on this, is what I'm trying to get at here. This has absolutely ridiculous action. It is running on bearings, which I'm sure you're able to tell just based off of the way this closes itself. Manual, obviously, opening with the thumb hole. This is not a front flipper, but you can front flip it. I wouldn't use like the top of your thumb, but if you kind of get in right on this this bend right here in the thumb, you can kind of get it with a little bit of wrist. So that's an interesting little thing, but it's definitely more of a thumb flick or reverse flick, obviously, with that hole for your opening method. It's a titanium liner. You have a I believe it's a titanium clip as well. This is G10, and these are $168, if I did not say that already. M390 steel. Overall, a really interesting piece. I did a ton of cutting with this today, and that's really where I'm going to give you most of my opinions on it. But, just before I get into the nitty-gritty of it, if you really like this design, I think it's a really well done piece. M390, really good action. It is a little bit on the thick side, but it's certainly not uncomfortably thick. Definitely well built overall. Flat grind, definitely a good working knife if this is something that interests you. So, yeah, it's going to get a small, an easy, quick recommendation like that. But now let's talk about kind of how this carried and how this performed. Now, the overall carry profile of this is pretty slim. This isn't super tall in the pocket. You can see that the pocket clip is positioned more so, really, it is pretty central on the knife overall, looking at the total width. It does not carry deep, but it's not too shallow either. You're going to carry with about that much sticking out of your pocket, so certainly a lot of width there, but nothing here is sharp or uncomfortable. And overall, it doesn't get too much wider than at this point in the pocket. You can see it certainly does widen up as you go down to the bottom, but it's not by such a large margin that it makes it uncomfortable in the pocket. This clip was pretty good though. I had no issues with it. just enough spring to get in and out of the pants with no problems. Little cutouts here, a nice aesthetic touch. But that, yeah, no issues with it in the pocket. This G10 is not very rough or anything. There is some texture on there, which you can kind of hear it with my fingernail, but mostly a smoother kind of handle scale. And it carried, like I said, with no issues, being a little on the heavier side of 4.33 ounces. I will say most of that weight is definitely in the blade, but when it's opened, it does feel pretty balanced. Now, in terms of cutting performance, you do have a flat grind on here. That is only a partial flat grind, not a full flat grind. You can see where the grind ends here in this area, and you have a swedge on the backside, which certainly helps reduce drag, but it's a really not an aggressive swedge at all. I don't really have a good way of showing this, but you can see just how little difference that it makes from the full blade stock thickness to where the swedge is, that it genuinely doesn't, it just really doesn't help, doesn't really help reduce much drag when cutting with this. And that's kind of where this knife, I wish, was a little bit better and a little bit slicier. I wish that either the blade stock was slightly thinner. You are talking about a 0.14 inch blade stock, eighth of an inch, 0.125, and I think this would be absolutely phenomenal. It would be probably about 4 ounces instead of 4.3, and it would slice so much better, I would think. But as it currently stands, this flat grind does get kind of thin, but not ridiculously thin at all. You know, it's a thinner cutting edge, but not as thin as some other knives with flat grinds that also aren't full flat grinds, like say the TRM Atom, which you can see the flat grind goes up to here. No swedge on this, but you're talking about 0.09 inch blade stock, and that's kind of the big difference here. Thick blade leads to a thicker grind, which is not going to give you the sliciest knife on the planet. So this does bind up slightly in cardboard, which is where it got all of its use for me, but certainly not a major issue. And if you have to take on tasks that are a little more heavy duty than double layered cardboard, this will be a really well performing knife for you. It'll certainly stay sharp with M390, and it'll work out, you know, just fine. The other thing I did notice with this for my hand is that this clip did give me quite a bit of a hot spot if I really had to squeeze and bear down on this. The clip is sitting like right in this area of my hand. So when I squeeze down, I can feel that clip digging in to right here. And it certainly is, I keep saying certainly a lot, and I don't know why. But it's not the most comfortable. That being said, it's a little better kind of out in the fingers as a saber grip, but I still feel that clip a lot. What I found was I found myself choked up, kind of pushing this part further back in my hand, trying to cant the knife forward a little bit. And it doesn't feel like a super secure grip just because I have so much space, you know, under my knuckles, so to speak. But it did work for me ergonomically that way. And that's how I did most of my cutting, you know, cardboard cutting like this. And it's pretty comfortable in this grip, slightly choked up, and with that handle canted back more into the palm, so I'm not getting the hot spot from having the clip further up. So overall, I mean, it performed decently. It's certainly not, it's not designed to be a crazy slicer, so I can't hold that against it too much. But of course, that's something I prefer in a knife. Every knife I own, which is a whole total of 4 now at this point, 5. But basically every knife I own has a full flat grind, and it comes to a very thin edge and has pretty thin blade stock. So for me, a knife like this isn't really my cup of tea, but I certainly have enjoyed my time with it. It's performed well in everything that I've done. Not as much as, you know, a knife better suited to those tasks, but it certainly has done a good job overall. Now, if you want to purchase yourself one of these, if I can find a Amazon affiliate link, I'll put one in the description, and as I'm saying right now, it will be an affiliate link. If not, I will link this on like Blade HQ or something like that, which is where I got the information from during this video. I have no affiliation with them or any other retailer. That all being said, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.